Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, I'm gonna be doing a horror movie review for the film The Shining. It came out in 1980, and yeah, I literally just saw this film a couple hours ago today, and I was like, I'm gonna try to do a review for this, because I just want to. So I decided, you know what? Why not do one right now? So yeah, I'm basically just gonna be doing a review for The Shining, and I can tell this is definitely a classic horror film, and I very well enjoyed it. Um, and it was directed by Stanley Kubrick, and yeah, I'm just gonna talk about everything within this film. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Before I get into it, if you guys are new, please subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Leave a like, and yeah, I'm basically just gonna get right into this movie. So this film opens up with basically it shows just like these little mountains, and this like these wide open shots of like showing like this them being in the middle of nowhere, and we end up seeing um Jack Nicholson, and he's basically the villain in this movie. And what's it called? But he's basically just a normal character in the beginning of the film, and his character is Jack Terrence, and his wife and his son. They're all going to this. They're planning on staying in this hotel, and they're trying to just like stay there, and the guy who is talking to Jack, he's basically telling him that the hotel, there's like things that happen there, and he's telling him like maybe you shouldn't stay at this hotel because like this guy named Grady, he ended up going crazy there, and he ended up killing himself and his daughters in this hotel. And he was telling Jack to not stay at this hotel. And Jack was just like, nah, I'm just gonna stay there anyway. Me and my family are gonna stay there. So because and he basically said, like, I'm not gonna go crazy and become a killer or anything. That's not gonna happen. And that's basically that's what we introduce from his character with. And his wife Wendy, which she's a great final girl, by the way. um I would say her and her son are basically the main characters in this film. um they're like the protagonist. They're both the main characters. Her son Danny, like I said, he's also a main character. And in the beginning of the film, we see him talking to himself, like his imaginary friend Tony. He's just like talking to himself, and he was like having these weird visions. In the beginning, he was over here like having visions of this like there was like blood like leaking through some elevator in the beginning of the film that Danny was just like having visions of about the hotel before they even got there. And I guess um it's because like he because I think Tony, which is his imaginary friend, he basically is he had that fear already about the hotel being a bad place even before they got there. And once they did get there, he's like he was just having all these weird visions the whole time they were there. And I was just like, yo, what the heck? But I really like his character. Is he's another kid um protagonist that I really like, and for a horror film. And yeah, I thought him and his mom Wendy, they're both great characters, and they're like just they're at the hotel, everything's normal at first, but then Danny and this guy, Dick Harrelson, they end up talking about like Danny asked this guy, the chef. That's who he is. He's the chef for the hotel, and he's like Danny's asking this guy like, oh, what's going on? Like, did something bad happen at this hotel? Like, did something happen in 237 and room 237? And the chef ends up telling Danny like, oh, don't go in there, don't go in there. Like you shouldn't go in that room and whatnot. And Danny's just like why? And he's just like, just don't go in there, don't go in 237. And I was kind of confused, like, how did Danny even know about that room if he hadn't even seen it beforehand? So I was kind of confused there, and then eventually Danny ends up going into the room 237 anyways later on in the film, and he ends up going in there, and he ends up seeing, like, outside the room after he closes it, he ends up seeing these like two girls in the hallway just standing there talking to him, like saying, oh, do you want to play? And I was just like, yo, what the hell? I was just like so confused. And like, then that's when I realized, like, oh, these have to be the daughters of Grady, that they talked about in the beginning of the film whenever Jack was talking to that guy at the hotel, or that guy that was gonna let him stay at the hotel. That guy told Jack, he was like, oh, this guy Grady killed himself and his daughters and his wife at the hotel. He killed them with an axe. And I was like, yeah, these must be the ghosts, I guess, of Grady's daughters. And I was just like, yo, it was kind of creepy. And yeah, and then basically Jack, he was just going crazy by this, like, after like a month of them staying there, this dude was slowly losing his mind. And I really don't know why, but he was basically there writing some story for like a whole month. And later on in the film, which I'll get to in a little bit, but later on in the film, we find out that he's not even really writing anything. He's just literally basically just writing some random words and just like putting it into this typewriter thing, which I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, this dude was losing his mind being at this hotel from the beginning. And yeah, like Jack he was just losing his mind. And he basically he was also having like weird visions himself. He was like just like having these like weird, like, like visions and hallucinations throughout the film. And I was just like, at times I was wondering, because like there was just so many weird things going on in this film. I was wondering what even is real or not, like what's actually happening and what's not happening. Because some of the stuff I was just like, bro, what the hell is this? But yeah, I was just like, he's losing his mind here. So I felt like he was basically just going crazy. And even when he was talking to his son, Danny, like you can tell this dude was just being creepy. He was being like weird and whatnot. And by the way, I forgot to mention, Jack actually broke Danny's son's arm, because in the beginning of the film, his wife Wendy is like talking to some therapist, I guess, or a doctor, and and she basically tells her that his dad Jack broke Danny's arm like 5 months ago. Before that, because he was like drunk and he was an alcoholic at that time, and he broke his arm, and he basically, at that point in this film, they explained that he was not drinking alcohol anymore. So, but like this dude he was being really creepy, and what's it called? He was just acting strange, and what's it called? He even, at some point in the film, he actually ends up seeing the ghost of Grady, which, like I said, this is the guy who killed his daughters at the hotel before Jack and his family got there. So this guy Grady, who he's talking to in the bathroom, this is the ghost, I guess, of Grady, who killed himself and his family before Jack and his family had stayed there. So he's basically talking to his ghost, and he's like telling Jack that, like, oh, your wife Wendy, I bet she's like trying to tell you what to do and what you should not do. She's trying to take control over your life and Danny's, and like you need to, like put her. You need to stand up to her or whatever. And he was basically trying to like get Jack to like snap on his family, just from this first interaction with them. And what's it called? At this point, Jack was just going crazy. He just did not know what to think anymore. And Jack himself even said, like, oh, you're that Grady guy. You kill your wife and your daughters at the hotel? And he was like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm just like, bro, really? And yeah, I was like, yo, what is going on? And what's it called? His wife Wendy ends up seeing him like having some panic attack, because he's apparently he was having some weird dream where where like some guy killed him and Wendy and his son Danny. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, this dude he's losing it at this point. And by the way, the chef guy that I was talking about earlier, that that chef guy that I was talking about earlier, um oh shoot, like I had said earlier, he basically, whenever he had told Danny not to go in the room 237, he also stated, like, he said that him and his grandmother can speak to each other without actually opening their mouths. So, and he was like, almost, I felt like visioning, he was seeing through like visions what was happening at the hotel. He knew something bad was going to happen, and he ended up going to the hotel because he felt like something was going to go wrong, and wish he was right, because Jack ended up slowly, he started snapping and going crazy. And what's it called? By this point, he was just losing it. And what's it called? And like he basically, Wendy's son Danny, she ends up seeing some like bruise on his neck, and she thinks Jack hit him again and abused him, like whenever he was drunk and he broke his arm. So she ends up leaving him, and she just like leaves him there. And then later on, she comes back and says like, oh, there's this lady in this room in the hotel, and she attacked Danny. You gotta come. And Jack is just like, he doesn't even look phased at all. He's just like, what room is it? And I was just like, wait, really? Like, and why would she even just like run away and like leave your kid with some random lady that attacked your son? Like, why would you do that? Um, so yeah, I was just confused by that. And this random ghost lady steps out of the this like it was in the 237 room that Danny had went to earlier, and Jack goes inside that room and he sees this like lady step out, and he ends up kissing her, and then she turns into like this weird, her face starts turning into this like weird um like her skin was like ripping. Her you can see her bones on her face. I was just like, like what the hell is this? And she ends up just going back to the bathtub and just like she just falls back asleep. And then Jack just closes the door and like acts like nothing happened, because at this point this dude is just losing his mind. He's just like doesn't know what to think anymore. And his wife Wendy tells him like, oh, what happened? And he's just like, oh, I don't know, like no, there was nothing in there. So yeah, and then his his wife Wendy ends up going back later on to check up on Jack to see like what he's what he's doing, like, and she ends up reading on the typewriter what Jack was writing about this whole time that they were there for like a whole month at the hotel. And she read it, she read on the typewriter, and it said some I forgot what exactly it said, but on the typewriter she read something, and it said Jack gets angry when he has no time to play. It was something like that, and he wrote that all over the typewriter, like on pages on pages on pages. And I was just like, what the hell? So I guess that kind of implied that this dude was Jack was losing his mind the whole time from the beginning that they were there. And he even what I found strange, because there's a lot of mysterious things that I'm still not sure about because I've just seen this movie, like I said. But I want to know how Jack even knew, because if for those of you who have seen this film, Jack ends up saying that like, oh, I've been here to this. I felt like I've been here to this hotel before, and I was just like, wait, what? So I was confused what he meant by that, and because like if he had been there before, like why would you want to go back there again? Because you like, and even the guy before he even decided to stay there, the guy who owned the hotel that he was talking to in the beginning, he said you shouldn't stay there because you'll probably go crazy and whatnot. You'll probably lose your mind. Some other guy that stayed before you ended up killing himself and his family. I don't know if you want to stay at this hotel. And he just ignored it and decided to stay there anyways. So he let her, and at this point, Jack, he basically just he snapped at this point completely, and he saw his wife reading what he was writing about this whole time. And he's like, oh, you like what I'm writing about, right? And he ends up just telling her like, oh, like I'm gonna end up going after you now. I'm gonna bash your brains. And she hits him with the bat and knocks him down, and he like gets knocked out for a second, and she ends up just dragging his body into this like little, I don't even know what this was. It was like a freezer or something, and she puts his body in there while he's sort of unconscious, and she ends up locking him in there, and she just leaves, and what's it called? Then she ends up just like falling asleep in her room after her husband literally just tried to attack her. So I was like, what are you doing? I was just like so confused. And what's it called? Jack while he was in that, he was locked in that little room. He heard this, like he was like hearing like whispers and voices in his head, or yeah, no, not in his head. He was actually hearing them, and it was Grady's ghost. He was telling Jack, "Oh, you didn't put an end to your wife, like like he was just basically trying to get Jack to go and kill his wife and his son, Danny, and what's it called? This is how I knew by this point that this movie was no longer, because there was times where there was just so much weird stuff going on in this film that I was just wondering, is this actually real or is this just in these characters' heads? Like I really don't know what's going on at times, and I was just confused. But then once Grady's ghost, I guess, unlocks the room door from the outside that Jack was locked in, he ends up unlocking it, and I was like, "Yep, this is supernatural. Like this is definitely this." I was already feeling that beforehand, but I was kind of wondering like if these characters are some of these characters are just going crazy, and they're just seeing stuff or they're hearing stuff. So I didn't know for sure if this movie was leaning towards that supernatural route. But at this point, I kind of already knew for sure. And because apparently The Shining is actually what is like is what is the power, I guess, that the hotel upholds, you know. So like that's everything that it's run by, and all those who have died in the hotel, their spirits now roam around there. And what they call that's basically what the movie kind of explained. I'm still not completely informed on everything about that, or even with this movie. I'm sure I left some things out, but yeah, I'm still new to this. So if you guys want to correct me or inform me, give me some fun facts about this movie in the comments below, you could go ahead and do that. But yeah, that's basically what I got from this film, and like from what it explained at least. And what's it called? And then what's it like? Danny, he ends up he has like a knife in his hand, and he's like going crazy, and he's like writing murder backwards with like this lipstick on the door. And I was just like what is Danny doing? What is this kid doing? And then I guess it's because he was like he already knew that someone was going after them, and he was like envisioning it, or like he felt it, because I guess Danny, he kind of had those psychological abilities to just sense or envision things, because that's basically what he was kind of doing this whole movie. And even Jack at times himself, he was doing that. And what's it called? That's why I was just like, yo, like, see, I guess he can do that, because that they established that from the beginning. And what's it called? So yeah, and his mom Wendy ends up waking up, and she sees Jack trying to break in, and he has a whole axe in his hand, trying to break in through the room, trying to break in the room by breaking down the door. He was like repeatedly hitting the door with an axe, and one of the most iconic lines ends up coming up here in a second, which I'm gonna get to. But what's it called? She ends up opening the window door, or this like little window thing from the room, and she opens it, and she lets her son Danny escape and get out. She couldn't fit through there because there was a whole bunch of snow covering the window, and the window was barely opening for her to even fit through it. So she couldn't get through. She just had to stay there in the room with her knife in the hand, and she was just like terrified by Jack just trying to, break in. And he had, like I said, I'm about to get to it. One of the most iconic lines ends up coming up here, um, which I've heard this line before, even before I've seen this movie. I've heard this line, and I've seen the image as well before, so I've already known about this. But Jack ends up peeking his head inside the little opening that he cut through the door with the axe, and he puts his head through that little opening, and he says, "Here's Johnny," and he's just like with that creepy smile on his face, and I was just like, "Yo, this is where he finally says it." I was just because I was waiting for him to say, because I knew that line came from this movie, but I didn't know when it would be said, and I was just like, yeah, is like, when is he gonna say it? Um, I was just like, oh, this he finally said it, and I was just like, yo, so yeah, I was just like happy when I heard him say that in the film, and what's it called? Yeah, he said the "here's Johnny" line, and then his wife Wendy ends up stabbing him in the hand, and he like backs up, and she ends up escaping, and her son Danny escapes too. And that chef guy, Dick Harrelson, that guy that I talked about earlier, he ends up coming back to the house, to the hotel. I mean, because like I said, he was coming back to the hotel because he thought something was going wrong, and which he was right, because I mean, Jack was literally, he was going, trying to become a serial killer now. I mean, he was going crazy. So he sensed something was going wrong, and he went back to the house, to the hotel, I mean, and Jack sees him, and he ends up killing him with the axe. And this is like the only kill in the film, actually, which I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait, this is the only kill in this film? There's only one kill, and is this chef guy that barely had any screen time. I was like wow. I was kind of surprised, but I don't really mind though, because I was really invested into this movie with just the characters alone, and what's it called, and just all the story, and everything that was happening, all the weird, crazy stuff, bizarre stuff that was happening in this film. So I was like, I wasn't really caring about the kills anyways. Plus, this film, from what I've heard, it's more of like, it's horror, but it's not like a slasher horror movie, and it's not, it's not about the kills and whatnot. It's like more psychological horror, that kind of stuff. So, which even the last movie that I reviewed, Candyman, that movie was kind of more psychological, at least the original, from what I know, and from what I've seen of the movie, everything that I saw. Yeah, even Candyman was also a psychological horror movie. So, yeah, this film, The Shining, was also more in that area of psychological horror as well. So, knowing that it was more psychological horror, I didn't really mind. I was like, there's not really kills in this film, but I don't really care. It's just Jack going crazy here at this point, trying to kill his family. And that itself is just like very creepy. And, he's like chasing his son Danny through this maze in the snow. And I was confused why he was limping, because like he was only stabbed in the arm. I mean, yeah, he was stabbed in the hand. And I was just like, why is this dude limping? Why, like, it's not, he was not seriously hurt or anything, but he was chasing his son Danny, trying to kill him. And I was just like, yo, this dude's crazy. And he was just like chasing him, and his son Danny was just running away from him, trying to escape. And what's it called? And then he ends up, once Danny escapes the maze, is that he was running away from his dad who was trying to kill him. He ends up meeting back up with his mom, Wendy, outside the maze, and they end up just escaping and leaving in this little tank car thing. I don't even know what the hell that. I was just like, bro, what the hell is this? Like, I don't, because when I looked at it, I was like, what vehicle is this? But yeah, his son, her son Danny and her, like, they both end up leaving in this tank vehicle thing, and they escape. And Jack, I mean, he ends up, I guess he ends up dying because like he ends up, we end up seeing him like frozen, and he's just like not moving. So I guess he died in the cold, in the snow. He, like, his body froze up, and he ended up just dying right there. So that was the end. That was the end to him. So yeah, I was just like, wow, this is a crazy, wild film, and I was just really shocked by how much of a roller coaster ride this film was. Like, if you're watching this right now and you haven't seen this film, go watch it, because what I'm talking about in this film, in my review right now, it may not be so clear what exactly I'm getting into with some of the stuff, because I'm probably not explaining some of these things correctly, because I've just seen the film for the first time myself. So you might get a better understanding if you go watch it for yourself. It's, like I said, it's a good film. Yeah, it's a really good classic horror film. I really do enjoy it, and just like everything about it, it's a classic for sure. So yeah, I what I was confused by though is that at the end of the film they end up zooming in to this picture frame, and that was in the hotel, and in that picture frame in the hotel, they zoom into it and it shows Jack, a picture of Jack, and these crowd of, like, there is like the crowd, and like he was like with them, and in that picture it was like from 1921 or something. That's what it said, and it showed Jack inside the picture. So I was like, what? Like, well, why would Jack be in a picture from 1921 like that, from all the way back at that time? Like, so I was like kind of confused by that. I didn't know what happened there. If there was some weird time travel thing that happened, or like, I really don't know. For those of you who have seen it, maybe you guys can explain to me at the comments what exactly was happening, what happened in that ending, and what that picture at the end of the film was showing us, because I really don't know. I was confused by that. There's a lot of just like mysterious things that I was just kind of like, within this film, that I was like, yo, what is this? I was like very clueless. And yeah, no, there's a lot of questions with this film, but I enjoy it though. It's very mysterious, and there's a lot of just mystique within this film. And like I said, it's a more psychological horror film overall, and it's overall just an enjoyable film. So with that being said, and everything to it, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna be able to drop any reviews and like horror movie reviews, like like I'm probably not gonna be able to drop any like tomorrow or anything, or Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, I'm probably not gonna be able to drop another horror movie review or a video in general until next weekend, because I can't have my phone anymore during the week for school. I kind of got it taken away, so yeah, I can't have it really during the week. So probably not gonna be able to post content throughout the week, but either way, during the weekend, I'm gonna try to post more content for you guys, and just keep you on updated for whatever I'm gonna do. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Like I said, subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications as well if you're new. So that way you get notified whenever I drop new videos. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys seen this movie before, yeah, like I said, drop in the comments below what you thought of my review and what you think of this film. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's an enjoyable film, and it's definitely a classic. It came out in 1980, so it's an old classic horror film. And I'm just like, I'm surprised because I don't know for sure if there's any like sequel to this film, and if there isn't, I'm surprised there isn't. But overall, I thought this film was good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. And like I said, I'm gonna try to post more content during the weekend. At least next weekend I'm gonna try to post content. Gonna do horror movie reviews. Gonna drop maybe, I don't even know, because I was gonna do I was gonna try to do some Scream 7 video, but I was like, I probably can't, just because I was just trying to do this video first, so I'm probably not gonna be able to do it anyways. But yeah, either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.